Hello everyone, it's Christine here and I am back for our stitch along, and today we are moving on to needle weaving. And so as you can see, I've started doing some what are going to be petals on a flower using needle weaving technique. And so needle weaving's often used in needle, lace and stump work embroidery, and it's great for making leaves or petals or even things like legs on an octopus. I thought would be super using this particular stitch, but I'd love to see what you end up creating with it. So you'll want to start with a piece of thread that you've got a knot in the end of, and you're going to come through from the back of your fabric. I'm just going to continue with the piece of thread that I already had. And then you're going to put a stitch a few millimeters away from where you popped out and take your needle to the back, but you're going to leave yourself a loop of the size that you want your leaf or petal to be. So I'll probably have mine about that size. And then you're going to pop your needle back up just next to where you took your needle down, so a bit closer than even where you made your loop, just next to where it was, and you'll keep your loop while you do that. And then you're going to grab yourself a piece of waste thread. You're just going to be using this. It won't end up in the actual design. You're using it to hold your loop while you do your needle weaving. So you just want to pass it through the top of your loop. You then want to hold on to that with your left hand if you're right-handed, or vice versa. And then you want to start, I might actually just pull my thread a bit more, make my loop a tiny bit smaller. You can just sort of adjust it using your thread. So I'm just going to hold on to that blue thread and just keep it raised a little bit off the surface. And that's just going to assist you when you start your needle weaving. So my working thread is down here. So I'm going to take my needle under the opposite or the upper bit of the loop. So I've got my needle underneath the upper part of the loop, and I'm going to pull my thread through, hopefully not get a bit of fluff in the process. Don't know where all this fluff always comes from. And then I'm going to go under the other side of the loop. And each time I'm pulling my stitches down, or you can use the tip of your needle just to make sure they're sort of pushing down onto the base of your loop. And so again, I'm going to go to the opposite underneath the opposite side of the loop, and we're just going to keep working our way backwards and forwards like that, and always sort of pushing down so we get a nice tight weave. So you can always see where you need to go, because wherever your thread is, you've got to go underneath the opposite side of the loop. Actually was really enjoying doing those other petals. It was so relaxing. I was watching Anne Brooks with her wobble gob. She hasn't done one for I think about a month, so it was nice catching up with what Anne Brooks, textile artist, is up to. All sorts of lovely workshops and little travels around. So inspiring hearing about other creatives and other stitchers' creative adventures. So you just keep working your way along, and I find if I just sort of pull down against the bottom of the loop, my thread sort of goes nice and tight, and I don't have to really use my needle to do that tightening. And you're just keeping a nice taut hold on that blue thread that's holding the loop. And so you keep doing it until you get to the very end, and until you've filled up your loop entirely with woven stitches. If you were having trouble with your needle being sort of too sharp and catching your thread, you could use like a tapestry needle once you're through to the surface bit of it, because yeah, those tapestry needles aren't as sharp. Just another bit of fluff in there that I was just getting out. So I'm almost getting, I think, to the point that I'll just use my needle and see if I can push the stitches down. Yeah, I can probably fit a few more in. I think we're getting pretty tight now. Probably this last stitch, yep. And so once you've got your stitches where you want them, you can take out your blue piece of thread or your waste piece of thread, and then you can position your petal or your leaf wherever you want it to be. And because it's a sort of a stump work technique, generally you don't want your petal or your leaf to sit right flat against the fabric. So you'll want to kind of go back into the fabric where you still get a bit of lift or a bit of texture or movement in your petal or your tentacle if you're making an octopus, which I do think would be rather lovely. I might have to think how I can make an octopus head on this rather than a flower. It might evolve. So we can do another one because I do, as I said, I was really enjoying the technique. So I'm going to pop up next to that last one and then pop back down in here. Hopefully I'll have enough thread. We'll see how we go. Now, it probably is good before you do your, I'm actually just going to fix it because it's got a bit twisty. So I'm just going to pull that stitch out, make sure my thread is untwisted, because it'll be much easier if you don't have that sort of tension in your thread when you're weaving. So again, then once you've got your loop, pop up just next to where your thread is. Like I'm doing here, get your loop to the size that you want it to be. Put your waste thread back in, loop it through. Like that. Hold on to your little holding thread, and if it does pull the loop out a bit, you can just sort of tighten, just tug on your actual working thread and it will tighten up your loop. And then we're going to come through doing the same needle weaving technique, so popping through the opposite side from where you start. Oops. Sorry, I just managed to undo my stitch. Let's just start again. I think it twisted around on me while I was positioning. Sorry for the shadows. It's Friday evening. I'm just doing some nice relaxing stitch after a busy week, but not a horrendously busy week. So a manageably busy week, I would have to say. And I think I've now properly adjusted to daylight saving as well. It's always those first few mornings, it's just, or the first few days, your body just has a little bit of that feeling of sort of jet lag almost. I think others are yet to have their daylight saving sort of adjustments in other parts of the world. But you'll be losing the light at the end of the day. I suppose if I do an octopus, I'll have to do a good number more legs, so I won't make you sit through all of that. I'll decide once I've done this leg, when I finish the video, whether I go on to make an octopus. I'll put a picture of whatever I create in the picture for this video, so you'll know what eventuated. I do like doing it, so it wouldn't worry me to do another few more legs. It's just more that I won't trouble you with that. Sorry, I've just managed to unthread as I am wont to do. Okay, let's just again, so if your stitches are kind of like, if you've had to just put it down like I did for a moment, you can use your needle just to make sure your stitches are nicely compact down. Still got little bits of fluff trying to get woven in. So I hope you're all having a good day or a good evening or a good afternoon. A few of our little stitching community have had a rough time lately. Someone fell off the ladder. Someone else got knocked off their bike. So yeah, sending out all the good healing wishes to all the folks. Yeah, I think I've almost put as many stitches in as I'll be able to manage, so I think that will be enough. And then we'll pull out our little wasty thread Oh, what have I done there? Maybe I got a little bit twisted, but I'm not too worried. And then we'll put a stitch in here. And there is quite a nice little flower. So I will just finish it off on the back, and then actually I'll tie it off here. So it's got something to anchor against, except I've managed to unthread it. So I will do that afterwards. So there you go. There is the lovely, this one's trying to slip through, lovely flower or starfish or octopus, who knows. But hopefully that's a great little technique that you'll give a go to for creating some really good textural elements. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you back tomorrow for turning the page in the book. We're going to do needle weaving open base picot. So see you for that. That sounds exciting. Bye everyone.